guys, welcome to Podcast Fandom Premium. I'm your host, Nina.
I'm Donald.
And I'm Kaylee.
And we are back to discuss Extraordinary Attorney Woo, 이상한 변호사 우영우. And we're going to be talking about episodes 13 and 14, The Blue Night of Jeju. Is that it? Blue Night of Jeju? Is it like Jeju-do?
Two-parter or whatever.
Yeah, we're working on this today. That's annoying me. Yes. Mm-hmm. Anyway, is it Jeju?
I don't know. I'm looking at it now because it was a two-part episode.
I want to say Jeju-do, but I don't feel like they would have put that. I feel like it would say Island.
Blue Night of Jeju.
Jeju, okay.
And then 1 and 2.
Yeah, 1 and 2. It's a two-parter. Jeju.
There's only 2 episodes left?
Yes. Jeju is an island in Korea. Fun fact about Jeju. The dialect there is so different than other parts of Korea that there are people who, born and raised in Jeju, people born and raised, let's say, in Seoul, will go to Jeju and they can't understand the thickness of the way they speak it.
I saw a video that like it's same thing in Japan. They have different dialect. They have different dialects in Japan, and it's just like for some Japanese people, it's hard for them to understand the other dialects. Mm-hmm. I saw a video of a girl, and she's like at her job, and she's speaking in Japanese, but she's speaking in her dialect. And her coworker is like, "What? What are you saying?" It's like they're speaking 2 different languages.
And it's weird because I feel like you don't really get that in English unless it's like I feel like it's a mixture of like accent and slang though. For when it happens in English, like Australians.
Well,
like a lot of people, there's the accent.
I was gonna say like there's that girl from Misfits who had that accent,
right?
That even though they
yes, and that's a mix. Nico, no, that is a mix of accent and slang though, because a lot of it is just like heavy. But then even if you get what she's saying, you're like, what does that mean? What's that word mean? Yeah, because they just have different words. Yeah, so it's in English. Like I think the closest we would come is maybe folks who live in the South, but even still, like
when you say English, you mean like American too, right? Like,
no, I mean the English language.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
When you say, I'm including like British.
Right. So am I. That's what I'm saying. But here in America, I think the closest we would have is the South, right?
There's like Southern, and there's like
But I mean,
there's like
I've lived in New England, I've lived in the South, and I don't think I've ever come across people whose accent was so thick that I could not understand them. When that happens in the English language, it's usually, again, because it's an accent that I'm way unfamiliar with, plus the slang. Yeah.
I would say that as far as dialects in the U.S., the biggest ones would probably be like Deep South or like the rural Midwest, like a Minnesota.
Yeah.
Like other than that, that's the only 2 that are really different than.
And I would think about Canadian too.
Well, that's close to that.
That's
that deep Fargo, like
that's what. Yeah. That's what I was thinking. When I was thinking Canada. Yep. Anyway, y'all are like, we ain't here to talk about that. We're here to talk about Extraordinary Woo. And I don't have a lot to say about the case. Not gonna lie. Wasn't my favorite.
I think it was purposely a boring case.
Mm-hmm, and straightforward.
It didn't have much consequence to it. It was just 3,000 yen. I keep saying yen. I'm sorry.
Because even the
I'm just too used to Japanese currency.
Even the woo whale moment or dolphin moment or porpoise moment, whatever you want to call it.
It happened after the case.
Right. It didn't even have to, because every episode's always been to do with the. Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's right.
It didn't have to go.
Look at y'all paying attention.
It didn't do anything with the case.
When it happened, I'm like, this is the first time she's had this moment where it's not really related to the case.
Right. It was all to the story of the boss.
Finding the cook, the owner of the restaurant.
Which I called it. Before she even had that moment, I was like, he works there.
Yeah.
At the temple.
Yeah, once he said they were going to, let's eat food, I was like, damn it, he's there. He's their cook.
Isn't it great? All right, so let's talk about what happened in these episodes. Do y'all have any overall thoughts you want to get out of the way?
I liked the episodes.
Mm-hmm.
I liked that it was... I want to say it was kind of like a breather, because it was just like a little mini vacation.
Mm-hmm.
But some terrible things happened, so it's not too much of a breather.
Mm-hmm.
Like, they still made it pretty suspenseful. But again, it had nothing to do with the case, which I kind of liked. They just focused on the characters and, like, character building.
And it was mainly, like, even that, like, it went away from the whole stuff with her mother. Kind of, it didn't really have a lot of that stuff in there. It was just kind of just focused on them 6 people. So even who's the asshole? Kwan. It didn't focus like on him being betrayal or what's he going to do to Wu and how's he going to get her fired. It didn't do anything.
No.
Like, it was just him.
He was just there being
right. And it was kind of a nice break from all that other drama that's going on back in Seoul.
They made me start liking him.
Yeah, so this is interesting because we've talked about this a few times where, particularly when I talk about like what I really like about K-dramas, and I said it before, like they don't leave anything on the table. It's like when they say this is the story and these are all the people in the story, they take time with all the people in the story. So it would be really easy to make Kwan just be like a hater all season. I will say I was surprised that they waited till now to dive into his personal life.
At the end of the show.
Yeah, like I hadn't realized that to the point where I forgot it. Like
and
this little tidbit, I forgot that it even happened.
Well, even that, you question it because you're like, is he telling the truth? Because you only hear
really, because I believed him.
I mean, I did at first. I didn't like when he was on the phone. It was like, is he really talking to? Like,
maybe he's talking to somebody about Wu's mom or something.
It's like, do we truly believe him? But then you do believe him as you watch more of it and stuff like that. But your first instinct is you don't believe him. Right.
1 second, somebody's at our door. Okay, sorry about that. We had a package delivered. Okay, what were we saying?
I think we're just about to start talking about it.
Okay.
We were talking about Kwan, but...
Okay. Maybe what I was saying was that I was just surprised that they waited this long to dive into his personal life.
Right.
That's it. I just want to make sure I was clear on that. But again, it's so like random and small that I didn't even remember this about his character until it started happening in the episode. Even when he said it, he was basically saying how his parents, like he's making good money, but he can't really enjoy it because his parents' health. So I got the impression that both his parents are, probably up in age and got health issues, but didn't remember that about his character until he said it in this episode. I was like, oh, okay. Does it matter? Do you feel differently about him? You say you started to like him a little more, Kaylee.
Yeah. And I hate it.
Not me.
I
feel more bad about the other girl because I feel like she likes him, and when everything falls.
When it comes out what he's doing.
Yeah, it's just going to be complete fallout.
Right.
How are they going to do that in 2 episodes?
Well. Okay.
It is a K-drama.
So, the case is brought to them this week via I think it's the woman who owns the building that Wu's dad has his kimbap shop and his apartment, right? Yeah. So, her dad went to this cultural center on Jeju Island and had to pay a toll on this road, even though he wasn't going to the place that charges. Like, so the road leads to different places or 2 different places, like the temple or whatever, and he was going to the place that's free. So he's like, why do I have to pay this thing? And then there's no place to even like turn around. Like once you're on the road,
and he was just going to go past it. Like he'd technically just be driving by the temple but not visiting. That's the impression I got.
But either way, he had to pay it, and it was 3,000 won, which is like
$3,
less than $3 American dollars, right? So he don't care.
They told him that it's going to cost more for the case and the lawyers and all that stuff than
he's like, it is the principal. I was like, I wish I had money to have principals. I have no money or principal. But he, so it's the landlord's dad who wants them to take on this case, and because of the boss's Myung-sok's diagnosis, he's like, you know what, fuck it, let's go. We'll all go to Jeju, including Junho.
And we don't even know his diagnosis
at this point. But they say it later.
And they show him leaving the hospital or going into the hospital's doctor's office.
Yes, that's right.
So we know he's seen the doctor and he knows what's going on. But he's basically, you could tell, already a different person.
Yeah, I don't think I wrote it here. You guys can say what it is. What's wrong with him?
Stomach cancer.
Yep.
Stage 3.
Yep.
So when Gurami and Harry Boss learned that she's going to Jeju on business, they're like, Gurami is like, I want to go. Harry Boss, let's go. And he's like, how can we go to Jeju? We have all these customers. She's like, she's our only customer. She's going to Jeju. One thing I love about this show is like they legit, I can't tell if like they have customers during the day, but Wu always goes there after work, like when her business is closed. So they're I don't know if we're supposed or what, but he's like preparing stuff.
He's always like behind the counter.
Right. So I don't know if he's like prepping for like cooking for them, prepping for the next day.
He's got to survive. His business has got to.
It has to be doing
right.
something. I just love the fact that they don't bother to like show it. It's just like you just have to take that he's doing okay. So apparently, well enough that they can close for a few days and go to Jeju.
But I'm assuming they had to pay for their.
Yeah, because he was like, "I'm going to be your guys' personal chef."
Yeah.
And the boss is like, "Sure."
No, I don't think. Yeah, I think he. Yeah.
They weren't even sure they were going to be able to go until they got to like the airport. And
they're like, "Is it okay?" So we're already there. Well, they said no.
And Junho is upset because the last he spoke with Woo about like their relationship was her telling him that she told her dad they couldn't meet because they not dating, right? And so he was still like kind of up in his feelings about it.
And it's kind of like almost childish.
But it was super cute.
It was, but it reminds you of like being in high school or a grade school or whatever, and you have like a boyfriend, girlfriend, and you're like, oh, you want to go out, like that type of thing where it wasn't official unless you asked them to go out.
But wear his jacket.
You don't do that as an adult, but she doesn't know that, like, right? And it's just kind of her.
And not only that, but she's super literal,
right?
So it's like you said, we were just going to go on some dates before we make it official. We're still doing the dates. Like we got a list to go through. Like
right. I did not know that adults didn't do that.
Didn't do what?
Didn't just say, "Hey, do you want to go?" Like they have.
I mean, you ask people out on a date, but that's it. Like I never went to mommy and said, "Hey, you want to go out?" Like,
and not until he proposed, but we'd already lived together,
right? Like we just.
I always assumed.
Well, some people do, but mostly no. It's usually like.
How are you supposed to know?
It's like you just start spending time with each other.
I think it's stuff that you say too. Like, I feel like you will hear women kind of complain about this, like, because I think some people, not just men, but some people take advantage of that, where it's like some people need you to say it. Like, what are we doing? Because otherwise, it could be we met, we went out a few times.
Oh, we weren't official.
Right. And then you don't know. But then it could be we met, we go out a few times, we have sex at my place, we have sex at your place, and then it's like, next thing you know, he's like, you're like, oh, do you want to go out tomorrow? And he's like, I can't, I have a date. Wait, what? Like, some people need to be like, what are we doing? Are we exclusive? Some people, because otherwise you may be thinking, well, wait a minute. We've been going out every weekend for a month. I sleep at his place sometime. He sleep at my place. Is this not official? But some people take advantage of the fact that it wasn't ever explicitly said to be assholes, to go do other things. So, yeah. But for the most part, but what I was going to say was I do think that during that time, I think people say things so that you understand. Right. Like, you know what I mean? Like the way you talk to each other about future plans and stuff. I think sometimes it goes unspoken because you say it in other ways. But so he asked her if she wants to meet his sister, who lives on Jeju-do with her husband, and she's like uncertain. And she says yes, but she's nervous about it. And Gurami kind of coaches her poorly again. Like, say she was giving her tips of things to say, but there were things that she heard from old like Korean soap operas. And she was like, don't ask for anything, no kimbap, just eat whatever you're served, which is like advice you get most times when you go out to like don't embarrass me, just fucking eat whatever they give, don't be picky, don't And she was kind of giving her that advice, and we see that later. Just my poor girl's eating that raw fish. She was like,
she told them to compliment the interior of the house. They didn't even get to the house. She's like, your interiors. She's like, you can see inside our house.
She was just trying. She was so nervous, and the thing is, she's not stupid, but like it didn't even occur to her. She was just saying what she was told to say. So at the airport, the boss, Myung-sok, he shows up in his airport swag. He does a little spin. He has his little carry-on luggage.
You notice he didn't wear glasses this whole trip either.
He didn't?
No.
Oh, so I was watching somebody react to an earlier episode, and one of the things they did that I thought was telling was not so much about his health, but again, hinting that he doesn't take care of himself because he works so hard. It was one scene where somebody walked in, and he was like putting eye drops in.
I remember that.
Remember that? Something like that? And I was just like, and then he looked really tired.
He can put his own eye drops.
Yeah. And it's just like a thing you don't. It's not like a huge thing
because like anyone can do that. You don't need it.
But it's not a thing you see often in TV.
Yeah.
You just don't. You know what I mean? And that's, to me, it's like a sign. Little things of showing, not telling, that this is a man who's overworked. You know, like every time you see him, it's little things like that I really like. But anyway, it's Woo's first time flying, and she was spouting off all those facts.
Her reaction to the plane taking off was like, I didn't react that way when I was on the plane, but that's how I felt inside. I didn't outwardly react, but that's exactly how I felt. I was like, oh.
Yeah. That beginning is like, this don't feel, it's just weird. It's just, you feel like this ain't, I'm not supposed to be doing this. Like my body is not supposed to be going this
I'm just curious how he's going to act.
I'm going to give him an edible. He'll be fine.
I'm just wondering if we should get him the headphones and all that stuff too.
Because of the noise. I don't know. I try not to like talk about it too much because I don't want to like freak out about it. It's just like a thing we're going to do. Oh, God. Anyway. So when they land and they get their cars, the rental cars, Harry Boss rented a convertible, but they got like this sensible sedan. And Myung-sok was like, I'm going to ride with them. Like you could see it in his eyes. He was like, oh, yeah. So he's like, he's like, we're going to the same place, right? Okay, so I'm just going to ride with them. And then he, like, there's that moment where he was just, like, the wind, and he just started, like, crying, though. I know, oh, my God. This poor man. So, there's a restaurant that Myung-sok really liked. It turns out.
They had memory from.
Yeah. And it's a noodle place. Hembok noodles. Hembok means happy. They start to stop at one place called Henbok, not with the NG on the end, I think, Henbok. And he's like, no, it's Henbok, and it keep going. But it turns out it's closed. Right. They have these meat noodles, right? I think you call them. So they're like, okay, whatever, let's just go work on our case. So that's clearly going to be a thing. We already talked about this, but I want to mention it again. We do learn that one night they're like working, and he's like, you know what? Let's just relax. Let's hang out. Let's eat. Yeah, he sends them to go get. Yeah, and he sends Kwon and Suyeon out to get liquor, and it's when they're walking back that he gets that phone call from his dad, I think, and he reveals Kwon that he has sick parents.
He offered to go with her too. I don't know if he knows they're doing the plans. He's like, how are you going to carry all this stuff on the way back? And he's like. And did you notice that he was like, well, we went to get the liquor, so we should drink. And they're walking back, and he opens a beer, and then he takes hers out, and he says, hold this. And she holds it, and then he cracks it open for her. Yeah. And he goes, cheers.
Yeah. But he does little stuff like that. Again, having already watched this, now I've been watching little stuff. Yes. He does little stuff like that for her. And she's like...
Will you just stop it?
I think I like you. Will you please stop? I don't want to like you. She's like Kaylee.
But in that conversation with his phone too, you realize like kind of where he's coming from and why he is the way he is. Because it sounds like he comes from a family that's not very wealthy.
Right, because she points that out that
like
her father
he supports his family. He's doing all this stuff to be the breadwinner of his family and stuff like that. And for him, it's unfair that Woo can come in there and just get a job, the same position as him, because she knows people.
But the funny thing is, again, that's purposely ignoring the fact that she is highly qualified and was being discriminated against. Like, so, at the end of the first episode, the boss, Myung-sok, passes out in court, right?
Yep.
He's in pain. And then this is leading into the second episode where they learn what's wrong with him, but prior to that they didn't know. Yeah. A couple of things. They try to get the toll attendant on video, like admitting that you have to pay this fee even if you're not going to that place. And that's another moment where Kwon, the guy, tried to take the camera out of Soo-yeon's hand, and he like helped her and like held the she was like, ooh.
There's also the scene where they're eating and the boss talks about his ex-wife.
Yes.
Because I'm pretty sure that happened in the first episode of
I'm trying to remember the significance of that, though.
Well, that was just the noodle place, and he just went, like, the significance of this island, like, he hasn't been back to this island. This was his honeymoon. That's the memory
Is
of
that the conversation you're talking about, where it came up that it was his honeymoon?
Yes.
Because that was interesting.
Learned everything that
Yeah. But I felt like there was like another ex-wife conversation, but I think that was with Junho in the hospital. But you guys are talking about in the house that they're staying in, right? And it was interesting because he was like, my honeymoon, I had it here in Jeju, and they were like, that's like the honeymoon spot of our parents' generation, right? Like, nobody does that anymore. Like, your generation, you were supposed to go to like Maui, or what do you say, the Maldives and Guam. Yeah, but he really liked this place and these noodles. It was a special place with his wife.
Both wanted to go to Jeju for their honeymoon.
Well, when we see the flashbacks of
she
like,
seemed excited to be there.
yeah, she did, and we see that there was this thing where there's a part like on the beach. And it's like this rock formation, and I guess tourists come and they stand and take photos in the hole in the rock formation. So you have like the beach behind you. There was a line to take the photos, and it was his wife's turn, but he got a business call.
And this was like right when the scene with them when they were drinking and stuff like that.
Yes, and he's explaining.
He was like, you guys don't let's just relax tonight, no working.
Yeah,
and he's explaining why that's important to him now, because he realized he wasted his whole life doing nothing but work and not relaxing and having fun. He lost his marriage, everything, because of the way.
And then when she had that, like, the drinks and the food and stuff set up, and he was working.
There's a cake.
Yeah, and he comes to bed and he's like, wakes her up, and she's like, "What the fuck? What time is it?" It's like 4 o'clock in the morning. Or when they went to the restaurant and they were eating a bunch of sushi,
right? And
she's like, "Come on, it'll get cold."
He's like, "It is cold."
And she got mad. She's like, "I said it'll get cold." She's like, "Motherfucker, that ain't the point." I know. Oof. He was getting on her nerves. I felt bad for her. So in the next episode, he's in the hospital and he like just passed out. We learned that he has stage 3 stomach cancer and that he has already he's going to have surgery in Seoul. So he's like, "I'm fine."
I can't believe it really seems like he was just going to go through the surgery without telling her.
Yeah, he absolutely was.
I felt like in that first episode before he passes out, he kept doing, like, especially the dinner scene, and he did a couple other things that Woo kept stopping and looking at him.
Yeah.
Like, she could tell there was something
And there was
off.
that scene where she couldn't sleep because of the clock. So they went to go...
And he was out in pain in the backyard. Right. Yeah.
And
I hated that.
Yeah, I felt like she knew something was up.
Yeah. That shit with the clock when she could not sleep. She could hear that shit. So there was a scene in the temple. This is also, I think, in the first episode where the monk had invited them to the temple, and there was like a prayer, and you have to do, what was it? 100 and something bows, right? And Quan was like, I'm Catholic.
He just stood there.
Suya was like, me too. He got, really, what's your baptismal name? She was like, Jenny. He was like, oh, Saint of Blackpink. Do the bows. Get to bowing. And then Gurami she's at the beat because the guy was hitting that thing, the chimes, and she was like, it just makes my body want to move. And he kept trying to stop her, and she was just dancing. But the best is when they were done, sore. They were walking, and they were sore, and Wu's legs was all wobbling and shit. She was trying to walk.
She couldn't straighten her legs.
No. She was just like teetering. It was so cute. Wu is super blunt talking about this man's cancer.
She's like, he could die at any moment.
Yes.
Your chances of survival are low.
5%. 5 year, what was it? Like your 5 year survival rate was really low. Not 5%, but it was low. Yeah. And so, yeah. And she makes it her mission to go find the noodle place, even though he tells her not to. So he tells her not to, and then they cut to them outside, and she's like, so, how do we find this noodle place? Because fuck what he was saying. And then they do that, we're going to break up in teams, and they do that high-low thing, which I said was so confusing to me. But this was a really cute scene, because it was nice how they were like, oh no, where I'm from, we call it this. Yeah, where I'm from, but it was all the same thing. They just had different rules and different chants and things you say. And Harry Boss was like, his ended was something like, put crap in your trap. He was so proud of that nasty ass thing. They were like, no. So that was cute. But they end up finding out that the restaurant closed because someone else came and opened. First, they recruited their chef that worked there,
right? And
then opened their place and named it something very similar to Humble, and then Humble, and then he had lost business, so he went out of business. And the noodles were the owner's mother's recipe,
right? And the chef knew the recipe, and that's why he had taken it over to the new place that was making the exact same thing. Right.
It's been bothering me. I think you have the names of the restaurant wrong. Not the original one, but the other one.
Yeah, I don't remember what the other one was.
It was close, but it wasn't.
Hangun?
I think. Hangun.
I'm wondering, we're trying to think if that means something. If it's because if it has it could be, because I was trying to think, could you change, so if you had Hembokaba, which means to be happy. No, because it would be Hembokan, would just be the word happy. If you wanted to describe a noun as happy, like a happy baby, right? A happy child. It would be Hembokan ai. Yeah, I don't know what they changed. I don't know if it means anything, what they changed it to. But they bring that up later. You can't do that. You can't just... I was like, that has to be a Korean thing, because I feel like that happens here a lot.
I can't think of...
Not a lot, but okay. This is not a perfect example, but there's this place called Sesame Donuts on DoorDash here.
And they use the same...
It is the same font and color
as
Dunkin' Donuts. That pink and brown.
Yes. But there's no Dunkin' Donuts out in this... there's no Dunkin' Donuts in this area, in the Pacific Northwest.
Really? I didn't know that.
Yeah, I think there might be some in California, but we don't.
Which is funny because that makes sense, because in the Pacific Northwest, especially here in Seattle, they take their coffee very, very fucking seriously. So they don't want none of that fucking... Well,
even I feel like coffee shops, there's an abundance of them here.
One of the guys I worked with at the Climb, that's one of the things, that guy Jacob, I don't know if you remember, that's what he did. He left and he has a coffee...
I just feel like competition
bar, but it's their own coffee,
right?
Their coffee beans. Yeah,
I just feel like that would be a tough business.
Yeah, that's why you got to have a niche, topless girls serving the coffee.
And they do
come and get your coffee, get a haircut. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Get a titty car wash and get your coffee. Titty car wash. That's what the girls wash your car with their titties. I don't know. I just made that up. Anyway, so yeah, they end up winning the case, and they feel bad about it, and to the point where, but this is what I love. So at the end, did you notice how they had to stop collecting the fee? The temple did, right? But then they went to them and were like, but we can do this, and we suggest that you reach out to the Blue House, which is their White House. And we just happen to have at Hambara a division that works with, that like helps businesses connect with the government and all this stuff. And then like Kwan spoke up and all of them, and I felt like he saw that, the boss did, and it was like, so like later when Wu says to him, man, today this was the first time I thought you were cool. He was like, what do you mean? Because he made that offer to do all of that stuff for the temple. And I think it goes back to like what that guy said, like what type of attorney do you want to be? It doesn't always have to be you just helping rich people solving problems. Like you could be really doing good things. And I think him being that type of attorney in this episode, like she was impressed with that, and she was like, it was so worth you getting stomach cancer and losing your wife. He was like, do you really think so? She was like, yeah.
He was like, okay. He just didn't have a problem with that.
But I think though what he was starting to see was, I think like the regret, like you said, of him just being like, I wasted a lot of time, and maybe like this was like a wake up call for him to try to find some sort of like balance, you know? And I think he saw the good he did when all of them were like stepping up and being like, we can help you with this, and we have a trademark department.
That was with the...
But they were talking to the
guy
in the restaurant, yeah. I think when he saw that, I think he not agreed with her that it was worth it, but it's like, no, obviously it wasn't, and I could have, like, obviously to the detriment of my marriage, like I could have been better about it, but I think he was really proud of, like, the young attorneys that he's molding, you know, because they were, even Kwan, all of them, they were, like, stepping up to say, we're going to do this, and, yeah. But, yeah, you were right, the noodles, the man who owned the original noodle place is the cook at the temple.
Yeah.
And he makes the noodles for them. He still had the restaurant though, because like he was like, I don't think it'll be. He said, I don't think it'll be appropriate to make meat noodles here, and it made me wonder: do they not eat meat?
I guess not, because it was all vegetables.
They're Buddhists, right? Yeah.
It's all vegetables and
right.
I don't think he.
But then they went to the restaurant, right?
Yeah, I think him closing down his restaurant was like his choice. Like,
well, I mean, he wasn't getting any business because of the other place was taking all the business.
Okay, so. but what I'm saying is, usually, if you ain't gonna use a building, I
wonder if he just still had the building.
That's just what I'm saying.
I think it was family owned. Yeah.
Like, so you just had the kitchen and stuff.
It was probably
right.
family owned.
So he just opened it up, turned the stove on, and was like, "All right, let's do this." He made the
cobwebs inside.
So I was like, oh, okay.
But then they also say, hey, we can help you reopen it. We could file all these lawsuits against this other place and get your name back and your recipe back and all this stuff.
Right.
I did like, we didn't talk about it, is the when they saw the best friend saw Kwan and what's her name? Soo-yeon.
When they like admitted, he's like, "Do you like me or something?" And then she didn't say no. He was like, "Wait, you like me?"
But then the best friend sees them staring at. She's like, so then she plays that whole thing like, you need to choose me or her.
Yeah, so he was like, what? He was like, if he said something about like, it was like one of those like, if we're both hanging off a mountain, you can only save one type bullshit.
But she was just creeping in corners and shit. Mm-hmm.
And so he was like, what? And then Harry Boss was like, ignore her, just go. I love them. So Woo's visit to the sister's house. Mm-hmm. We didn't talk about this. These people are terrible. Terrible, terrible, terrible. When Woo goes to the bathroom, the sister's like, please tell me you're not going to introduce her to our parents. Do you want them to faint? And she was just so fucking rude about everything.
And he was just like, why?
Like, what are you talking about? Yeah. And she's like, oh, God.
And everybody thinks he's just
doing. And Woo overheard all of it, which was basically just her saying, you know, someone like that can't make you happy. Yeah. have you thought this through?
Yeah. And he was defensive to the whole thing. He stood up for her the whole conversation.
Even like in the restaurant with his friends. Remember when he jumped on you?
Yeah, he stood up, but that she heard enough.
Right.
And then she calls her father and asks him, can I ever make somebody happy? And then we didn't hear it. We didn't hear what the father said. Yeah. But then the next conversation is them, because they and now I really wanted them to see dolphins, because I felt like this whole show was like she'd never seen a real life dolphin. Yeah. So I wanted to.
But she misses it when they break up. Right. When she breaks up with him.
But
that was so
the second
up.
time they
I
go
hated
out there,
that.
and then she's like,
I can't wait to watch it.
She doesn't tell him why. She just
which I hated.
Yeah, and I hate that he's just miserable. He's questioning
so
it to
miserable.
He's questioning it to the end of the episode. Like he doesn't understand why she did what she did, and she hasn't told anybody.
Isn't there a scene where it's him and Kwon and Soo-young? Yeah, they're all.
Because they switch seats in the car and then they later on the plane.
No. Well,
no?
They're out drinking somewhere. 3 of them.
Yes,
because they switched seats.
They went to
Woo
and then went to karaoke.
Yeah.
And Woo rode in the car with her 2 friends, and they were like, "Oh, we need to go sing karaoke." Yeah. So they go sing karaoke and sing breakup songs.
And they're like comforting him. He's like, Trevor, what happened? Why did she break up with me? And Kwon's like, maybe she has under too much pressure because he's like the only one making sense.
Yeah.
She can't handle meeting your sister and her husband.
Yeah.
It was nerve-wracking for her. And I was like, dang.
That's when they went back out to karaoke, because that's when they came back and she saw them staring at each other.
She was like, "Oh, he broke up with me."
Tsunami was like, "We gotta go back and sing more songs."
I want to say I like how. Well, I don't know if I liked it, but I really thought Kwon's reaction to finding out that Woo and his friend were in a relationship would be like bigger. Like he hasn't really like seen.
Yeah, no, we
found out that before
he found out. But he found out right when he was, like, remember, I think the biggest thing about that is that he learned they were dating. Nico stopped. And then still took his ass in her office to frame her.
Right.
But that's it. We haven't...
He hasn't, like, given his own personal opinion.
Right.
No.
It was almost like these 2 episodes kind of, because of that, these 2 episodes kind of felt out of place. Like, these
were, like, a very special on-location episode where they don't really... dig into too many of the big plots. It's like there's like all that secondary relationship stuff that came out.
This was like
Nico, will you hush?
You haven't quite watched the anime to know, but this was like the beach episode era of this show. And when you watch an anime, there's always like that one episode where they just go on vacation for an episode and just have fun.
Yes.
It's like
that's not just an anime thing. That's a TV thing. I know exactly what you mean.
Brady Bunch go to Hawaii.
Right. Like when remember when the Brady Bunch went to Hawaii? Nico, stop! There's nothing to be barking at. Ding dong. He's looking around like, yes, there is. You guys don't hear it. What's wrong with y'all? Go back to sleep. Anyway, yeah. Remember when the Brady Bunch went to Hawaii and there was like the tiki doll thing? That was probably racist now that I think about it. Remember it was like haunted or some shit? That's probably racist. We probably shouldn't talk about that. Never mind. Anyway. So what else happened? I think that's it, right? Yeah. What was the stinger though? Something happened with...
Oh, the boss.
Han. Yes.
Yeah. She met with the journalist.
Oh, yeah.
She told him.
I want you to release everything you know.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Wait until the confirmation hearing. Right. She confirmed, because that was the thing with his story. He did not have proof. You can't just do that. He needs somebody to confirm
somebody
that
works
her
here.
Yeah,
and she goes, "Oh yeah, I know."
And she told him to not release it until her thing, so that she doesn't have time to.
And then she's gonna let him interview Woo, and I think that's gonna be so fucked up.
How are you friends with this woman's father? How dare you?
Huh? We got 2 more episodes left. Predictions. Do Junho and Woo get back together? I mean, you know, these K-dramas don't give a fuck about your feelings. Go ahead.
They got him. Or on the commit arson.
They get back together, but the other, what's it? I forgot their names.
They get back together for the price of her
Kwan.
father dying.
Kwan's shit comes out. So there's gonna be big fallout.
Would he be, like, trying to get her fired or whatever?
Yeah.
Really?
I think the boss is gonna die by the finale. Kaylee, they don't care about your feelings.
Okay. Well, we are going to watch those 2 episodes fairly soon and record for them, and then we'll be done with this journey. I really want the show to get a 2nd season, but not holding my breath. But she just won. Park Eun-bin, who plays Woo, she just won.
Did you show Daddy like that?
Yes, he saw her before you did.
Oh.
Now she looks so different, and her voice, that's the thing that gets me. The look I get, because it's like a haircut, and she's all glammed up, but the voice, the fact that it's not her voice.
It's not the same person.
It's so different. Her voice is like so kind of deeper, and yeah, she's amazing. So she just won a big award for this role the other night, so I'm sure there'll be more to come. Anyway, thank you guys for listening. We'll be back next week with the finale of Extraordinary Attorney Woo.